Hello everyone, welcome to Dibya classes. Today we're going to start a new lesson, chapter 10, where we'll be studying about class, constructors and overloading. So let us move to this chapter. So in class 9, chapter 1, if you can remember, we studied about class. So what is class? A class is a collection of similar type of objects. And today we will be studying about this class but in a more detailed way. So today we are going to understand what a class is actually made up of and what does it contain. So let us start. What is class? A class is a user defined data type. In class 9 you might have come across many definitions. Class is a collection of similar type of object. Class is a user defined data type. Class is a blueprint. Class is a combination of data and methods and many more definitions. This is one of the definition. A class is a user defined data type that serves to define its properties. So you can write any of those definition in your board exam. For all the definition we will get equal marks. So here definition says a class is a user defined data type that serves to define its properties. Once the class type has been defined, we can create variables of that type using declaration that is similar to basic data type declaration. In Java, these variables are termed as instance of class or object. So what does this paragraph actually mean? So first of all, a class is a user defined data type. We already know what are data types. For example, int. So int is what? It is a predefined data type. And it tells that you can store integer values of size 4 bytes, right? Similarly, we have also studied about other data types like double, for example. What is this? This is also a predefined data type which can store real numbers of size 8 bytes. So all these data types have some properties. Like int can store integer values of maximum 4 byte size. Double can store real values of maximum 8 byte size. Similarly, class is also a type of data type, and class is a non-primitive data types. Int double are predefined data types. Predefined data types are also known as primitive data types. So in class 9 we studied about two types of data types, that is primitive data type, also known as predefined data type, and we had non-primitive data types, also known as user defined data types. So data types which are already created, for example, it was created by the developers like James Gosling. Those data types are known as predefined data types because that are already present. If you want to create your own data type, then those types of data types are known as user defined data type or non-primitive data type. For example, class. So class is an example of a user defined data type. Therefore here we have written a class is a user defined data type that serves to define its properties. Means like here int has its own property that it can store integer values of size 4 bytes. This is the properties. Then what is the property of int data type? It can store integer values of maximum size 4 bytes. Similarly, when you will create a class data type, we are going to create class data type. It will have some properties. So this class will also have their own properties. Like int is a predefined data type, it has properties. Similarly, the class data type that we are going to create, that is user defined data type, will also have some properties. Once you created this class data type, you can also declare variables, and the variables that will be created in this class will be known as the instance of class or objects. These variables will be known as an instance of class or objects. So you already know what is object. What is an object? An object is a self-contained unit of data and code. An object contains data and code. So the variables you are going to create by taking the class data type are known as objects. Here object is nothing but it is a type of a variable. You can say here object is nothing but it is a type of a variable. You have already studied in class 9 that object is called an instance of a class. Okay. Because we are creating this object using this class data type. Therefore, these are known as instance of the class. So now we'll go to the syntax of the class. So class, then used to write a class name, right? Used to write a class name. And within it, used to write functions or methods, right? Used to write functions and methods. So this is the syntax you already know. Function method means the public void thing. Public void. And now you have also studied that instead of void, we can write int if a function is returning another function. And we can have multiple functions. Okay, in the previous chapter, we have understood that a class can have multiple functions. Infinite number of functions if you want. Okay, so this is the definition you already know. Now we'll add something to it, that is access specifier and variables. So till now, if you remember, we used to declare all the variables inside functions, inside public, right? Inside that function, we used to declare all the variables. But from now on, we can also declare variables outside the function, not inside public void. We'll be declaring outside the functions, okay? And a class can also be followed by access specifier. What is access specifier? We studied in function chapter. There are three types of access specifier, that is public, private, and protected. So similarly, as functions have access specifier, class has also access specifier, and remember, it is optional. Because in class name, have you ever seen that we used to write public class or private class or protected class? No, because it is optional to write. And now also we are not going to write public, private, protected before class. Okay, so you just have to remember the syntax, that in syntax we can also write public class or private class or protected class according to the need. Since it will not be used in our programs, so we can skip it. Okay, just remember for the theory, we will be not using in programming. So the syntax is access specifier, which can be public, private, protected, or you can also skip it. It is optional in nature. You may write, you may not write. And then we have the class. Then we have the class name. Class name has to be given according to identifier rules. Then within the curly brackets, we used to write functions or methods. But now on, we'll also write variables. That is, we are going to declare variables outside the function. So what will happen when you declare the variables outside the function or inside the function? We'll coming to that in later part of the video. So the essential components or attributes of a class are. So in board exam, you may be asked what are the components of a class or what are the attributes of the class. So you will write the field or instance variables or data members or member variables or global variables. So class contains two things, that is functions and variables. These functions are known as member functions and the variables are known as member variables. Why they are called members? Because they are part of a class. So class is like a family and there are many functions and variables. So all these are what of the family? They are the members of the family. It is similar to that. So all these function and variables are member of the class. Which class? The class they are present inside, not some other class. Okay, they are the member of the class inside which they are present. So the class contains variables. The variables are also known as fields. The variables are also known as instance variables. The variables are also known as data members. The variables are also known as member variables. And these variables are also known as global variables. So whatever variables are present inside class but outside function. Remember, it should be present inside class but outside the function. We are talking about these variables that are outside the function but inside the class. Those variables have many names. You can call these variables as member variables, as global variables, as data members, as instance variables, or as fields. It also contains methods. Methods are also known as functions or also member functions. Methods are also known as functions or member functions. Then we also have constructors. We have not studied about constructors, we'll be studying in future part of this video. Okay, so basically the class contains three important components, that are the member variables, the member functions, and the constructor. Then another question may come in your board exam, that is, what are the essential components or attributes to declare a class? So there is a difference. These are the essential components and these are the essential components to declare a class. To declare a class means to create a class. So to create a class, the access pair is the essential component, and the access pair are three types, that is public, private, protected. So public, private, protected are the essential components or attributes to declare a class. So you have to remember this part for your theory. Okay, clear? Next. So now since you have come across the word instance variables, we'll understand about the concept of global and local variables. So what is this global and local variables? So till now we have always declared the variables inside functions, but from now on we are also going to declare the variables outside the functions. Okay, so take a simple example. So we have a small program. So we have class Dibya classes, and inside that I have declared a variable int a equal to 5. I have also given the value 5 to it. And then I have a function dnm, and inside it I have another variable b, and I have given the value 10 to it. And then I have a do while loop. Inside this I have declared a variable c with value 15. And now I'll print all these values. That is A, B and C. Clear? So here you can see one variable is inside the class but outside the function. B and C are inside the function, where B is inside the function but outside the do while loop, and C is inside the do while loop. Okay. So now comes the story of scope of variable. The scope of the variable. Scope. For example, telescope. What is that? Scope is nothing but it tells you the area of usage. For example, you are standing here. Another person is standing here around 2 kilometers away. Another person is standing as far as 2 kilometers away from him. So can you see with your eyes? No, not possible. 2 kilometers is too far. I don't think you can only see him. Okay. Now what you will do? You will use binocular. So what will happen? You are doing nothing but increasing the scope. For example, with your eyes you can see only 500 meters. That is a scope. That is a limit. A scope tells the limit. Okay. Beyond that you cannot see anything. When you use your binocular, you can see 1.5 kilometers. When you use your telescope, it is more powerful. You can see till 5 kilometers. So this is called the scope. Okay, scope means how far it can be used, or it can be seen, or it can be used. Clear? So here variables also have their scope, means till what area a variable can be used. And remember, the scope of the variable is defined by the curly brackets. You can see these curly brackets, right? This curly brackets tells or defines the area of a variable where it can be used. Okay. For example, int a equal to 5 is declared within this curly bracket and this curly bracket, right? So this variable a can be used starting from this area to this area, anywhere. You can use the variable a in the whole class, you can say, in the whole class. Similarly, b is declared within this curly bracket. B is declared within this curly bracket. Means you can use B within this area only. You cannot use B outside this area. You cannot use B outside this area. Similarly, here you can see C is declared within this curly brackets. Means you can use C only in this area. You cannot use beyond that area. So here we'll see what will be the output. Okay. So here we have a equal to 5, b equal to 10 and c equal to 15. So we have a equal to 5. It is declared in the class outside the function. Then within the function we have b equal to 10. Do int c equal to 15. We have declared the variable c, that is 15. While false means it will work for one time. False means it will not work. Okay. Actually I have created a loop that will work only one time. So now it will come outside the loop. It will print the value of a. What is the scope of variable a? It can be used in this area. The curly brackets will tell the area. So this a is inside this area of a. So this print statement is inside this area of a. So it will print the value of a, that is 5. Then we have the variable b, and the area of variable b is this one. That means b can be used in this area. B can be used in this area. So this print statement is also within the area of b, inside the rectangle you can see. Therefore it will print 10. Then we are trying to print the variable c. The area of c is this one. Means outside this box, this area, this curly brackets, c cannot be used. But you can see that this print statement, it's outside this rectangle. Therefore it will give you an error. Therefore what will happen? It will give you an error because it is beyond the scope. I will run this program in the BlueJ to see what happens actually. So let us run this program. Can you see? An error is given. It is saying that cannot find variable c, but variable c is there. I have already declared it, but it is saying that it cannot find because the scope of the variable c is within this. The curly brackets within which it is declared will tell the scope of that variable. So int c is declared within this curly bracket. So it cannot be used beyond this curly bracket. Means you cannot use beyond do while loop. Therefore it will give you an error. So let us delete this now and compile it. See, you are not getting error because a and b are well within the scope of. So this is the area of b. You have declared in this area, you are printing in that area. So it will work similarly. And this is known as the scope of the variable. The scope of the variable means the area within which a variable can be used. And the area is defined by the curly brackets where it is declared. The area of c is this one. The area of b is this one, and the area of a is this one. The highest area is of the variable a. And where it is declared? It is declared in the class outside the function. So every time the variables which are declared in the class has the highest area or highest scope. Therefore, these are also known as global variables. Therefore, these are known as global variables. So what are global variables? The variables declared in the class outside the function. The variables declared in the class but outside the functions are known as global variables because it can be used throughout the program. This is a whole program, right? You can use variable a anywhere in the program. Therefore, these are known as global variables. And here B and C are known as local variables. So we have understood three concepts: the scope of variable. The scope of variable is defined by the curly brackets within which it has been declared. And global variables, the variables of the class are known as global variables. And here B and C are the local variables. That is, variables within the function. Within the function there are two variables, B and C. Within the function, local variables. Outside the function, it is known as global variables. Okay. So the advantage of using a global variables is these global variables can be used in all the function. For example, we have multiple function in a class. Here we have only one function, that is public for DNM. But assume that you have 4 to 5 more functions like DNM1, DNM2, DNM3, many functions. All this function can access the variable A because it is declared globally. So once you have declared a variable in a class, that is a member of a class, then it can be used by all the functions within that class. That is the advantage of declaring a variable outside the function and within a class. Okay. So now we are going to learn how to create a class. So there are 4 steps to create a class. That is, first you have to add variables, then you have to add the methods, then you have to create variables, and then you will access these members. Members means these variables and these methods through the help of object. So creation of class contains 4 steps. So we will understand these 4 steps through the help of a program. I will write a program. The program will be based on ICSE pattern, complete ICSE pattern, what we get in ICSE board exam. Okay, in that we'll follow the steps to create a program. So using that program, we are also going to understand how to create objects. So these are the steps to create an object. The steps are, in Java, object can be created by using the keyword new. You have already used the new keyword like in scanner, in buffer reader. You already know new is both an operator and a keyword which is used to create objects. Actually, we have already created object for predefined classes like scanner and buffer. So scanner and buffer, which we have already studied, are predefined classes, and we have already created objects from them. That is scanner x equal to new scanner system.in, where x is the object name. Okay, so you already know how to create object for predefined classes. Now we are going to create object for user defined classes. Okay, you can see here we have written the syntax, that is class name, object name equal to new class name, and then we have the bracket. Okay, so we are going to understand how to create object through a simple program. Okay, I will tell you everything in a program so that it will be easier to understand. You can see this program. It is completely according to ICSE board syllabus. You will get similar to this type of questions in your board exam. So we are going to solve this program in both ways. One, using BlueJ method. So in the BlueJ method, you don't have to create objects. In BlueJ method, you don't have to create objects. And again, we'll do the same program by creating objects. Okay. We'll learn both the ways and try to solve this program. So let us move to this program. So here you can see it is written write a class rectangle. So it has already given the class name. Okay, in board exam, if the class name is mentioned, please use that class name. If you use something else like A, B, C, D or your name or something, you will not get marks because it has told you to use this particular class name. If it has not given anything, then you can take any class name. But now in this question, it has told to take the class name as rectangle. So we will create a class rectangle. See, here I am not writing public class or private class or protected class. Here also you can write public class or private class or protected class. But we are not going to use these things in our programming. We'll only write class. Every time in both class 9 and 10, you have seen that we are writing class. So now also we'll continue with that. Okay, we have created the class which will have two things. That is member variables and member methods. We saw the syntax. The syntax is access specifier class, class name, and within curly brackets we have member variables and member functions, right? So here also we have member variables and member functions. Member functions are also known as member methods. So here there are three member variables, that is double L, double B and double area. Generally in board question paper, everything will be given. You just have to use it. Therefore the programs are very simple. So here it is told to declare three variables. The data type is also given and the variable name is also given. Okay, and also it is told that what is the use of these variables. That is, double L is used to store the length of the rectangle, double B is used to store the breadth of the rectangle, and double area is to store the area of the rectangle. So now we will declare these variables, the double L, B and area. Okay, we have created all the three variables. Now it is asking for three member methods or member functions. So to understand class, you should understand functions also, because here you can see there are three functions written. Here there are three functions written. Means we are going to use multiple functions. For that you have to understand function chapter also. Then only you can understand this program. So now we will define three functions. The first function is void input. I'm not writing anything inside the function. We'll come to that at a later stage. Then we have void calculate. And then we have void display. Okay. Then it is also said that write a main method. Means this is a fourth method. In function we have already seen that there is always a main function, the CO function, that will handle all other functions. So here main function will be handling input function, calculate function and display function. The write a main method to create an object and call the above methods to find the area of the rectangle. So now we are not going to create objects. We are just going to call the above methods, which we are already doing in the function chapter. Okay. So we have void main and we will be using the void main to call all the other functions. So how to call other function? By the function name. We have already studied this in the function chapter. Okay. So now in this question you can see that it has already told what to do in each function. Void input to input length and breadth of the rectangle, void calculate to find the area of the rectangle, and void display to display the area of the rectangle. So now first job is to take the input. So here you have to follow some steps to take the input. You cannot take input directly, so you have to follow some steps. So now I will tell you a procedure which you have to follow in these types of programs. So always remember, in these types of programs you will have a three-step input. You will have three-step input. So in board exam you are going to get a question similar to this. So here you have to follow a three-step input, where the first step is take input in main method. Take input in main method. Second step is call the input method. Call the input method and send the values. And send the values. You have to call the input method and send the values. Then in the third step, store these values in the original variables. So this is called a three-step input which you have to follow to take input in these types of programs. Okay. So first, what is the step? Take input in the main method. See, in the program you can see that it is told to take input in the void input method, right? So void input will be used to take input of length and breadth of the rectangle. But you have to follow the steps I have given. First, you have to take input in the main method. Here, nowhere it is written to take input in the main method. But you have to take input in the main method or the program will not work. So what we'll do now, we'll take input in the main method. So let it be double P and double Q. Okay, so you have taken input. Then after taking input, the second step is to call the input method. Means the method where you actually have to take the input. So in this question, actually you have to take the input in the void input function. So you have to call it and give the values to it. So how to call another function? By the help of the function name. So input followed by the values. You have to give the values, or else how will input know what the values are? So you're sending two values means you have to have two arguments in the parameter also. And that has to match the data type. That is the double. Here both the variables have double. So it will be let it be double X and double Y. Okay. And now the third step is keep the values in the original variable. So in the question it has told you that double L will be used to store the length and double B will be used to store the breadth. But now we are keeping the values in P and Q and then from P and Q to X and Y. But now we have to keep the value of X and Y to the original variables, that is L and Y and B. So this is called the three-step input. First step, take input in main method. Second step, call the input function and send the values. Then keep the values in the original variable. So now our first job is done, that is input. In these types of programs you have to do like this. Okay, clear? Then we'll go to the next function, that is calculate. The calculate is used to find the area of a rectangle. So how to calculate the area of a rectangle? Area equal to length into breadth. That is the formula, right? To find area of a rectangle, it is length into breadth. Okay, and you have to store the area in the variable area. It is already given in the question. The double area will store the area of the rectangle. Then void display, you will print the area of the rectangle. So in the void display, it will be system.out.println area. Clear? And the main function will be used to create an object. Till now we have not created an object. We are just calling the methods which we studied in function by just writing the function name. So now we have already called input. Now after taking input you have to call calculate and finally you have to call display. So here when you will run the program, you have to run the main function. Every time you have to run the main function. When you will run main function, it will ask for input for value P and Q, that is the length and the breadth. The length and the breadth value will be stored in P and Q. Now we will call input and we will send the value of P and Q to input. The value of P and Q will be stored in X and Y respectively. After storing the value in X and Y, you have to finally store in the original variables, which are L and B, where L and B are global variables, where L and B are instance variables. Okay, you already know what are instance variables. Once you keep in the instance variables, it can be used anywhere within the class. It can be used anywhere in any function inside the class. So here, after it is stored, it will return back to the main function. Then you will call calculate. Then it will go to calculate, and what will do? It will calculate the area. Then again it will return back to the main function. Then it will call display. Then we will move to the display function, will print. Again it will return back to the main function. Now the work of main function is over. So this is how the program will work. Okay, now we'll run this program. So every time you have to run the main function. Okay, it is asking for input. Let us give 50 and 100. Click OK. You got 50 into 100, that is 5000. 0.0 because it was in double. Clear? Okay. Now we'll do the same program by creating an object. That was the actual question. So now we'll understand how to create an object in a class. Now we're going to understand how to create an object in a class. So what is the syntax to create an object? It is class name, object name equal to new class name, semicolon. So first is class name. What is the class name? It is rectangle. Then object name. So in the question, it is not mentioned any object name. Sometimes it might have mentioned that take the object as ABC. Then you have to take ABC. If it has not mentioned anything, you can take any object name according to identifier rules. So here we'll take as A. Let it be A. Then we have new. And then again we have to write the class name, that is rectangle. So this statement will create an object. And since you have created an object, now we'll not only write the function name, but we'll write object name dot function name, object name dot function name, object name dot function name. So if you're creating object, you have to write object name dot function name. If you're not creating an object, you can write only the function name, only the function name, only the function name. Clear? Understood? Okay, now we'll run the program. Let it be 50 and 100 again, and you're getting the answer. But what was the difference? So this is called manual creation of object. Actually, without creating an object, you cannot run a program. Without creating an object, you cannot run a program. Every time, since the first program you have started writing, every time we have created object. Only we are not aware of it. So every time you remember to run the program, we click on this, then we click on new rectangle, then OK, and then you have to click the red box and then run the function, right? So here also you are doing the same thing in written form. Just see how in BlueJ the same thing is written. So this is the class. So this is the class. The class name is rectangle. The class name is rectangle. When you right click on it, can you see the new rectangle parenthesis is given. New rectangle parenthesis is given. When you run it, what it is showing? Create object. Have you ever seen this? Yes. Actually here we are doing nothing but we are creating object in a graphical form. Okay. And name of instance means nothing but name of object. So here you can give any object name. We used to just click OK. But if you want, you can change. For example, now we'll give the object name as A. And click OK. So here see, A is written. So here this red box is nothing but it is an object. So here the object name is A. And this is nothing but the syntax what we are writing to create an object. Okay, so you can create object by writing like this, or in BlueJ IDE you can create object by this method. But in BlueJ, even if you are creating an object manually, again you have to create an object to run the program. Okay, but in other IDEs like Eclipse and all, you don't have to create object like this. Only you have to write inside and the object will be created. Okay, in BlueJ you have to create object again. Okay, but in board exam, if it has asked to create object, then it is compulsory to create an object. Okay, you have to write this line. If it is not asked about creating an object, you don't need to create an object. So you have to write the answer according to the question given. If object creation is asked, you have to create an object. If object creation is not asked, you need not create an object. Clear? Now we'll do the same program using scanner method. For example, you don't want to use the parameter. Here we have done using parameter method. You are taking the input using parameter, right, in the main method. Now we'll do using the scanner method. So in scanner method, the program will be little different. Okay. So here in parameter, you have to follow the 3-step method. So 3-step method, which I have told now, is only for parameter input. Now we'll do the same program using scanner. So in scanner, you don't have to take input in main method. So we'll delete this part. You don't have to take input here. Okay. So since you are not taking an input in main method, you don't have to give any value to input method. Since you are not giving any value to input, that means here also the parameter will remain empty. Here we'll take input directly in the input function. Here we'll take input directly in the input function. You don't have to take input in the main function. So if you are using parameter, you have to follow the 3-step method. If you are not using the parameter method, but you are using scanner or buffer reader, both are same. Scanner, buffer reader, both are same. Only the syntax, the writings are little different, but they work in a similar way. In that, you have to take input according to the question. In the question, it is asked to take input in input method, means we'll take input directly in the input method. So to use scanner, first you have to write the import statement. It is import java.util.asterisk, where we are going to take input. In the question, it is asked to take input in the input function. So here we'll write directly throws input mismatch exception. So this throws line need to be written where you actually need to take the input. Okay, don't take anywhere else. You have to take input here only. So how to take input using scanner? So first you have to create the scanner object. Scanner x equal to new scanner system.in. Then you have to write the print statement. Before taking input, you always have to write the print statement. Println enter length and breadth of the rectangle, and then we don't have x and y now. What we'll do? We'll take input next double, and here also next, and the program is over. We don't have to change the calculation part and the printing part. Scanner buffer talks about the input part only. So here what we did, we didn't take input in the main function, but using scanner, the advantage is you can take input wherever you want. That is the advantage of scanner and buffer over parameter. In parameter, you have to follow 3-step input. First you have to take in main function, then you have to call the input function and give the values, and then store the values in the original variable. But if you want to use scanner buffer, it will be little bit easier. You can take input in the input function directly, or where the question is asked to take the input. So here the question is asked to take the input in input function. So write the throws line there, write the scanner line inside it, write the print statement before taking input, and take the input. Your job is done. So this program is also 100% correct. So now we'll run the program. Always run the main function. Now you can see actually the main function is called the input function, and in the input function it is asking you the length and the breadth. Then it returned back to the main function. It called the calculate function. It calculated the area. Then again it returned back to the main function, and the main function again called the display function. Then the value was printed and the program was over. Clear? Very easy. If you can see, everything is written in the question. What are the variables you need to take? What are the function you need to take? Do you need to create object or not? Okay. What is the use of each function and variables? Everything is written. The only thing is you have to know the syntax and write in a proper way in form of a Java program. Clear? And the most easiest thing is the variable description. Here the variable description is already written. You just have to copy paste. Okay. After each program, you have to write variable description. You have marks for it. So here you just have to copy paste the variable and the description, because the variable is given, the data type is given, and also the description is given. Okay, so you just have to copy paste this thing. So I will also be giving assignment based on class after we study constructor. Okay, and go through this video multiple times. In the assignment I will give you few board questions. Try it and I will explain all the programs bit by bit. So till then, have a nice day. Thank you.